What's up, you Spotify? Damn it!
What's up, Spotify?
All week I was thinking I should shout what's up, Spotify, and I fudged it up.
Right, one second. We'll start again. Ready? Go.
What's up, Spotify?
There you go. Did that make you feel better?
No, I messed it up. Oh.
It's all right. I love how that's what you've been thinking about all week.
Well, I say all week. I was like the other day. Anyway, it's stupid. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the least educational,
professional
podcast and professional reefing podcast in the world, the Prestige Reef Dork Show. My name is Alex, aka Reef Dork, and with me, as always, is Ryan from the UK's #1 coral setting website, prestigereef.co.uk. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
All right. I say coral setting website. You're not actually setting any corals at the moment.
No, true. But people can come and visit, and you're coming to visit tomorrow.
I am indeed, yeah.
So technically, if you want to meet two like pretend celebrity fish YouTubers, tomorrow is the day to book your visit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be you're coming actually.
We'll arrange it tomorrow. But
good idea. Otherwise, we'll get like 200 people turn up. I agree. Best not tell them when you're coming.
We've actually already arranged the time, but you've obviously forgotten. But
yeah, I forgot. So,
but actually, it's going to work the other way around because I'm bringing you coral.
That is true, but I'm not sure what coral you're bringing yet.
It's an acro.
It's an acro.
That's what you're getting.
That doesn't give me a huge. Do I get to know what color it is?
Acropora SP.
Okay.
What color is it? It's like a tealy. When I sell frags of it, I call it teal and cream.
Okay,
because it's kind of because it's not white. It's kind of a creamy white and like a teal color. It's all right. It's not spectacular.
I'm expecting something spectacular now.
Okay, well you're going to be disappointed unless you find Asterina starfish spectacular. In which case
I do not. Oh God, yeah.
It's not on a frog plug actually, so there shouldn't be anything on it. It's just a branch that snapped off like a couple of months. There shouldn't be anything on it at all.
Okay, wish me luck.
Apart from maybe acro eating flatworms, but
Nice. Well, that tank hasn't got a lot of coral in at the moment, so if ever there was a time to get them, now's the time.
I do not have. If I had acro eating flatworms,
you'd have no
about it. You can never guarantee. When I sell frags, I can never guarantee that there's nothing on it.
Yeah.
And if anyone says, "Do you think I should dip it?" I'll always say, "Yeah." But realistically, I'd be very surprised if I had anything really bad in the tank. There'll be stuff like I've got aptasia in the sump or whatever, but there's nothing. There's nothing bad.
I always tell everyone to dip everything anyway. People often go, "Oh, I can." You dip your stuff. I'm like, yes, but you should do it too. It's your responsibility. So yeah. So even though it's from you and I trust you, I will still be dipping it anyway. So
yeah. As well, you should. I don't always. Do you? You probably do because it's your business. I don't. There are some times when I don't. I got a gunny frag this week, and it came down in the post from Stoke-on-Trent, which is up north. For those of you who don't know, and I'm down south, so long way. Yeah. And it was actually really well packaged, so I'm sure it would have been fine. But still, I just thought I'd rather not risk stressing out anymore. And at the moment I use Red Sea dip, which is not particularly strong, so it probably wouldn't have been an issue. But I was just like, and I didn't. I inspected it.
Yeah.
I did find a copepod. Sorry, an amphipod that I put in for my Bangor cardinal to eat.
Have you got two Bangors with this one?
Two pair, mating pair.
Yeah, there's actually in the farm at the moment, one of the male has got eggs in his mouth.
Same for this one.
Oh, it must be something in the air.
Yeah. It's that time of the year. But so mine do it every now and then. I've noticed probably 3 times, and there was one time, it was back in April of this year. I've 3D printed like a fake urchin because in the wild, of course, the babies live in the spines of the long spine urchin. So if you can recreate that, then they get there for safety. So I 3D printed that, went away, came back, and they're all dead. As in they weren't there. So I presume they're just all been eaten. So it didn't work.
So you've never raised any of them ever?
In my first ever tank, I did, and because one escaped to the sump.
Yeah,
but on this one, no.
Oh, so when you say raised, you mean one of them was just lucky enough to...
Oh, yeah. It was nothing to do with me. Just this one happened to escape to the sump. And he must have been down there for a while because he was a reasonable size, tiny. But food obviously escapes down there. But no, on this lot, I've not raised any of them. They're just, every time it's happened, I come down one day and he's eating, which because they don't eat for however long in there. So suddenly you come down one day and they're eating, and you're like, okay, never mind.
Did you eat your babies?
Exactly.
I used to.
I did have my cleaner shrimp spawn.
Oh yeah, I've had that too. Yeah.
I've never seen that. I don't know, 6 months ago, and I just came in, and you know when they do this with their rear legs, they like paddle. He was doing that and just spreading stuff everywhere. I was like, oh, it's probably just eggs. And I looked closer. I was like, they're actually swimming cleaner shrimp. It was awesome.
Yeah. The fish
they all got
crazy.
eaten. Yeah. It was. I was thinking the fish were loving it, but
yeah. I used to breed bang guys quite regularly.
Okay.
I used to enjoy it because they're the easiest fish to breed. They're much easier than clownfish, although you get far less of them. You only get about 20, and obviously once they've gone through, they don't also those 20 don't all survive. You usually get about 15 out of a batch of them. But I used to actually really enjoy doing it. I didn't sell the babies. I used to give them away because I wanted to know. I was so attached to them. I wanted to know where each of them was. So. But yeah, I enjoyed that. There was one time where I caught the male a day early, and he spat the eggs out, and then I had to try and like keep these eggs from like going off, because when they're in his mouth, he keeps oxygen and everything going through them, so they don't get like fungus or anything.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I had to like tumble them to try to keep them from, and then they hatch the next day. But they grow pretty quick when they're quite small.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not planning to raise these ones. I'm probably just gonna leave them and just see what happens. But they can become invasive in it. Like, so Sydney Aquarium has, I think, like a
I see
8 meter tank. It's got like 500 panguys in it, all these little baby ones where they bred
fish in there.
Well,
job done.
No, it's a full reef tank, but somehow obviously the babies are surviving and eating the food in there, and they've just got hundreds of them.
Yeah. Okay.
So that'll be the coral farm soon.
I would be up for. I would like it if I found one in the sump. So with that one I found before, I gave to a neighbour and it got eaten.
Oh, nice.
But a neighbour who had a fish tank, I didn't give it to
he didn't eat it.
His children. But if I found one that escaped in the sump, I'd leave him there. It'd be wicked. I'd really like it. There's loads of so I've got a refugium in my water box. I got a refugium in that tank. And it's teeming with pods, so he'd have the time of his life down there.
So it probably would survive then.
Yeah. I reckon so. Yeah.
What you should do?
I don't think I'd need to even feed him. I think he just
So the babies, after they've hatched, stay in the male's mouth for I think a day or two. Okay. If you catch him then in a net, he will then spit all of the babies out immediately into that net. And if you then put them in your sump, they're more likely to survive than just leaving them.
Yeah.
So you could give it a go.
I'm not that bothered.
Well, it's better than just leaving them in there to die, isn't it?
But I don't know. I'm not that fussed about that. I'd rather just, if that, with a bit of luck, one of them will survive and it'd be cool. But I'm not looking for more. The amount of effort I have to put in for all my tanks. I've got 4 tanks at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for any more maintenance or more work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't know how you do it, because it can't be fun having 4 tanks. Although technically I've got 3, but
it's, you know what? So it's great fun having the tanks, and there are 2 that get a lot of. And actually, I've only got 4. I've only had the 4th one very recently.
Yeah.
And in fact, I did a water change yesterday, and I've not put much effort into it. But the others, the thing I find is that I just like this weekend. I did a water change. Oh no, I haven't even done that. I did a water change on the new one, the Reef Casser, and that's it. That's all I've done. I've got water ready to do a change on my main tank, but I haven't had time. And on these 2 up here, they won't get a change. And on these 2 tanks, since I've had more tanks, I find I do a water change every fortnight on these ones. My main one I still do every week, almost all the time. But the difference is, so if I don't do a water change on my main tank for a week, I don't really notice any difference. Whereas if I leave these 2 tanks for 2 weeks, you definitely see a difference. And then when you do a water change, it's like a brand new tank. So these tanks, actually the water box is better, but the Cade in particular, it needs a bit more attention. So I should really spend more time on it. But
yeah. It's the testing that does me in. I hate doing the testing on 3 systems.
I skip that a lot.
What I should do is I should just test one on one day and one on the next day and one on the next day, and then it doesn't become like monotonous.
That's a good idea.
But I test them all in one go over the course of like an hour and a half, and an hour and a half of testing is not fun.
No, and but the thing, because it's annoying, it takes that long. When I test, really the main things I test are nitrate and phosphate.
Yeah.
Because I've got the hammer checker, so I do them at the same time. But although it's the process isn't that involved, it still takes a solid 10 minutes, and for most of that, you're sitting around waiting for the timer to count down.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I can't bring myself then to do that 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
So I tend to test one tank at a time at the moment.
Yeah.
I did actually I did test this. You're about to ask me about weekend reefing.
I am.
Not been up to much, to be honest. But actually, there's 2 things. Firstly, I've just been enjoying my tanks. I've updated my my thread on Ultimate Reef a couple of times, which I've neglected a little bit lately. I still do it quite regularly. I've posted photos on my Facebook page, the Reef Dork Facebook page, and I've just kind of the water box in particular. Since I've got the salinity back to where it should be, it's looking so much better. Really, really good. And I just I've actually spent time enjoying the tank, which which sounds weird, but I've not been doing that so much lately, and just looking at it a bit more closely and enjoying the corals. And even on my main tank that I've got not bored of, but just like I'm at a crossroads with that tank. I've really enjoyed that this week. And the one thing that I've been doing on that, I've went back and found, at the moment, I can't turn my return pump off on my main tank. Normally, I like to turn the return pump off, turn all the flow off, take some photos, and look top down, because that's where corals look best, of course.
Yeah.
But I can't do that at the moment because I've got a mimic filefish in my sump. And if I turn my return pump off, he'll be able to swim into whatever section of the sump he wants.
Yeah.
So he might escape and I won't be able to get him. So I can't do that. But I went looking for photos of I was looking at my strawberry shortcake, my big colony of aqua. I've noticed it's kind of crept up on me. Some of my colonies have got quite big in my main tank, and the strawberry shortcake's massive. I've had it 5 years, and I thought, let me see if I can find a photo of the frag when I first bought it, and I did. It was
I saw that picture on Instagram.
April 2018, and this went in my 120 litre tank. There was a holding tank for a couple of months, and really nice little frag that. April 2018 that was, and then fast forward 5 years, and it's now it's like the size of a rugby ball, basically.
Yeah.
It's hard to see from that photo, but like you can, like one of the branches is the same size as the frag was, and it's just when corals get big, they grow quick, like exponential growth on top of growth.
Yeah.
And I've just got loads of really big, even the one next to it underneath the light. That's a big old colony.
I don't see why you're not enjoying your tank.
I am. I am more, but this is the thing. So when I say I'm at a crossroads, I'm thinking now I feel like it's doing really nicely. I'm now thinking again. I switch between every week basically.
Yeah.
But I'm now thinking it would be really nice to keep it for 6 months or a year at least, and just let it grow out.
Yeah.
Which I've said a couple of times, to be fair, but it appeals more and more. And just the thought of, because if I break it down, I'll have to sell everything, and the idea of doing all that, because when you sell, like if I sell a couple of frags, the chances are like I might get 10 people asking, one might not turn up, the rest do, but you'll be talking to, what it's like when someone comes along who is into corals. You don't get to talk to other people, so you end up talking for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And so if I were to do that with all of my corals, I'd get people messing me around and wasting time. I'd spend an hour talking to everybody individually, and it'd be a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
And I can't bring myself to do it. But the more I look at the current tank, I think, do you know what? And I had real appreciation this week for my big colonies, because big colonies is just awesome. That's what you don't want, a tank full of frags. You want a tank full of colonies. That's the point.
Yeah.
And I've kind of spent some time enjoying my colonies. So it's been good. But the other thing, so last week I talked to you about the Hannah checker, the calcium, this little red bad boy. So I hadn't used it at the time last time we spoke, but now I have. And I looked up the process. It looked quite easy. It is easy and it's quick, but it's a little bit more of a faff than I anticipated. So first off, you've got the process is you've got to add 1 milliliter of this reagent, bottle of reagent, and then you've got to add to that you've got to add 9 milliliters of RODI water. So you've got to dilute
this. Yes, I remember it. I remember
that takes all of 5 seconds. So it's not, but that to me is like, why don't you just, so this is a 30 ml bottle. Why don't you just dilute it beforehand?
Yeah,
and put it in a 300 milliliter bottle? And the answer is because this is the bottle they make, and this is they use for all their reagents.
And it won't fit in the box.
Well, and maybe it's more expensive to ship, but it's just like, why make me dilute that? Just sell it to me diluted. Because that's in when if you got to do one test, it's no problem. But if you got to do it 4 times, I'm not going to do that 4 times. But that's the only thing that's different about it, is that you have to do you have to dilute the first reagent, and then you add a powder sachet. And weirdly, the weirdest part of it is you shake that for 15 seconds. So it's nice and quick. But then you have to, after you've done the 2 reagents, then you add the sample water, which is weird.
Yeah.
And the water sample from your tank, you add using this pipette,
yeah.
and it's 0.1 milliliter. 0.1 milliliters of salt
tiny
water in a 10 milliliter reagent tube thing test. It just feels weird to me. But my calcium came out at 429 parts per million.
Well,
so
I don't need it that accurate. I know you want accuracy at the moment, but I think
it's not accurate to plus or 1 parts per million, I'm sure. But
yeah, I think some things it does matter. But anyway, Hannah, you like, if you've just heard, Reef Dork's review, make diluted solutions.
yeah.
And then people will buy more of them. There you go.
I don't get why because that would make it's a small thing, and this is it's not really a big problem, but it's just enough to make me go.
It's funny because you say it's not a big problem, but that's the one that is notorious. Like, people know that's, or think that's the most difficult one. So that's probably why. So if you can make the most difficult ones slightly easier, even like 5% easier, you'll sell more.
There's no reason not to. There's just no reason not to as well. But do you know what? One thing I realized when I was scrolling back through my thread, my thread on Ultimate Reef, I started in 2018.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I did a little write-up when I set up the tank, and I was like, right, this is what my plan is. And I mentioned at the end, I said, I've also started a YouTube channel, but I won't post any of the videos on here because that's not what it's for.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So it was around 5 years ago that I started that channel properly.
Yeah.
But what I realized is I was a lot more joyful about the hobby 5 years ago than I am now. Like, when you look at my replies, like, I'll talk to people about corals and stuff, and it's just very matter of fact. Whereas even 3 or 4 years ago, it was like excitement and like getting involved and stuff. And I feel like I still love it. I still get as much pleasure, I feel. But when you look at the way I was writing stuff on Ultimate Reef, I felt I was a lot more joyful before, a lot more. I know, it was weird.
Slowly it's beating you down.
But that's the thing. I still love it. I'm not doing this, for any other reason. I still love it. But I know that was a specific thing that maybe I'm just, because I'm so used to it and I've been doing it for quite a while. Yeah. I'm now just like, it's not so exciting. Whereas I think at the start it was more exciting.
I'm pretty sure I got banned from Ultimate Reef.
What? I think you've told me that before.
Yeah.
I can't remember why.
So the thing that I actually find really odd is that they don't, if you make a video, they don't want you posting it on there, do they? Because it's a form of advertising. I don't know if that's still the case, but it definitely was when I started. They did not want you to post videos. But if it's, well, firstly, it's content, so you would think that they would want it. But I don't know.
I see. Ultimately, has changed a lot over the years, and I think actually for the better. I think it's really good now. There have been times in the past where there's perhaps half a dozen people on there who are just a little bit toxic and ruin it because it's a small community.
And then I got banned.
yeah, exactly. And you got, but no, if this was after you left, because it's quite a small community, it doesn't take many people to ruin it. But I feel like now it's a really good place. It's a lot more positive than it was in the past. But I think it's not about advertising, because I don't post my videos on Ultimate Reef.
Yeah,
I think it's not about advertising. I don't think that's what bothers them. I think they feel it's spamming. And that's I'm totally fine with that. The one thing actually, do you know what? Before I started this channel, I started a motorbike channel, which I turned off, and I've since turned it back on again.
Yeah.
But I did that. I found a motorbike forum, and I posted my one of my first videos, and I got like I've said before, bikers don't hold back.
Yeah.
I got absolutely lynched, and they were like, "F off, you spammer," and all this. Spammer, as in.
Yeah.
And when I look back at it, at the time I was like, "Oh right, chill out. I was just showing a video I thought you might like to watch." But when you look back at it, it's like, no, I was spamming. Absolutely, people are on there to chat on a forum. They don't want some knobend sharing his rubbish YouTube video.
Well, firstly, some people may I don't know about your bike video, but some people may have found your video educational. So imagine
No, they wouldn't have found that one educational.
Okay, maybe not that one. What I mean is some your any of the videos that you do about like beginner corals or anything, people are learning. So even if 10 people are disgruntled by seeing this post there, but 5 people are happy and they learned something, and then 100 people are indifferent, is it not good?
No, I'm actually with them on that. I think that it's because you go onto a forum because you want to talk about forum stuff. You don't want to go on there because you want to watch YouTube videos. If you want to watch YouTube videos, go on YouTube. Yeah. And it's the same with like with their Facebook groups. Sometimes they get spammed with things, and you're not on there for that. There's plenty of other places for that. So and I'm the same. So I'm fine with that personally.
There you go.
But anyway, so you got kicked off for spamming.
I actually don't remember, if I'm honest. I'm not even sure.
I feel like you've told me that before. But
I think it might have been. I don't think I was officially kicked off. I think it was more like
you were reprimanded.
Yeah, and then I went, you know what? F you. So I left.
Okay. Yeah.
So
no, I'm still on. I like it, but it was noticeable how much more fun maybe I was more fun back then than I am now. But I think I don't know. It was because that wasn't when I was new to the hobby. Yeah. Maybe I was just excited because I was setting up a tank. I don't know. It's weird.
Have you ever read any of your old posts and gone, oh, that was something that might not have been true or correct, or like something you heard and then like where you might have given some advice or something and then gone, oh, wait a minute, that because I found my old account. I can still find it. Yeah. And I look back at some of like my very, very early stages and I was like, I did not know what I was doing. And this was like obviously a long time ago now.
Yeah, no, so I've not seen that. And I think generally I'm unlikely to find that unless I go back quite a long way. But I do remember when I first joined, people would ask questions and I would share things that I'd learned.
Yeah.
I'd learned in inverted commas. Yeah. It was actually I was just regurgitating crap advice basically.
Yeah.
So and that was, but when you're brand new to the hobby, you want to help people. You really want to, if you found something out, you want to tell people.
Yeah.
But that's the trouble with anything, with Facebook, with forums, with YouTube. There are times that people will spout anything and you've got no idea. Does that person know what they're doing, or have they never even had a tank? With Ultimate Reef, one of the good things is there's a thread. You can set up a tank thread. So on not everyone does it, but you can click on someone's tank thread and see what their tank is like.
Yeah.
And if it's if the first line is "this is my first ever tank," you know that they're not an experienced hobbyist that you might not want to listen to. And if they've got a 10-year-old established reef tank with amazing corals, you probably want to listen to them. And it's the same to a point with YouTube to a degree.
Yeah.
Because most YouTubers, I can't think of any YouTubers in our hobby who don't share videos of their tank.
Yeah, it'd be a bit odd.
Yeah. Even I've seen people share videos of tanks that aren't that impressive. I think people still do it. Facebook is a bit more difficult. I think most people don't share their tank, and if you do share, like if you share your tank on YouTube, you can just search through and find it easy. On Facebook, if you post your picture of your tank, the next day it's gone and you'll never see it again.
Yeah.
So I think Facebook, it's probably more difficult to work out what someone's experience is like. But
it's like the Wild West.
It is like the Wild West. But anyway, how's your week been?
So I obviously had quite a busy end of November. So, and I think what happens with me sometimes, I can be really, really busy and then I like burn out and then have slightly less busy weeks. So last week I did less. This week I have done, interestingly, I've had loads of consultations. I think people are like, because we can't buy your corals now, we're going to have consultations instead.
Yeah, okay.
So I've had loads of consultation books. Someone in America booked a consultation. And just to clarify, if you watch this person in America, I've emailed you, but I haven't heard back from you. This was like 3 days ago. So I'm not sure why. It's very unusual for that to happen, but there's no other way for me to contact you. So, but yes. Anyway, so I've done loads of consultations, which I love doing the consultations because it actually makes me feel good afterwards as well. It's the corals where the money is, but the consultations are like a feel good factor. So
you get
you're helping
feedback
people
and you can see it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I really enjoy those. The water box it has no cyano and no dinoflagellates, but is covered in diatoms. At the moment it's like proper brown. By the time you arrive tomorrow, I'm gonna have like cleaned it up a little bit just to so it's less embarrassing. But it's one of those things where you just have to wait it out. I'm not putting it, nothing's going in the tank, so there's nothing that can be fueling it. So in theory, it can take like 3 weeks for them to burn off. And if they don't go in 3 weeks, I need to start looking elsewhere. Like what is causing this?
Okay, that was so actually, yeah. You mentioned this the other week that you had it.
Yeah, last week. Yeah.
One thing I did do, so on my my Reef Casa, we've talked about before whether you and I feel pressure to make a video and to make things happen, all that sort of stuff. And generally, I don't think either of us do. Certainly not anymore. Maybe when we first started, but anyway. But with the Reef Casa, I do. I feel like it's got to be. There's no point me making videos 3 months apart. It's got to be back to back to back.
Yeah.
And this week, so this week I'm going to be adding. The plan was to have a video adding corals. Adding my first fish.
Yeah.
But it's only got to the. But I still had on my Seachem ammonia alert. There was still. It was the lowest level, but there was still some ammonia in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? What I'm gonna do instead, I'll add corals this week because they'll be fine. And I'll leave it for a couple of weeks and do the fish later. But what I got to the point where I said last time that there's quite high levels of ammonia. That Seachem alert, it works.
Yeah.
When you pour the bottle of ammonia in, it goes dark, really dark. And so I did that and then left it, and it went down and down and down and down. It got lighter and lighter. But I found for about probably a week, it sat at the lowest level above zero. So I think it says safe, and then the next one is alert.
Yeah.
And it's been sat at alert for a week. And so this weekend, I got to the point where I thought, I know that there's seeded filter media, there's live rock, and there's this bottle bacteria in there.
Yeah.
I've seen that the ammonia level come down, so I know the system is capable of processing ammonia. So I think I know it's achieved what it needs to. And if I wasn't due to make more videos, I'd probably just leave it. Just say, you know what, I'm just going to sit on it for a month. But because of the schedule, I thought, let's speed this up a bit. So I did a big water change, like 80% water change.
Yeah.
And now it's showing ammonia 0.
Okay. That's good. So you're ready to go then?
I'm still not going to put the fish in yet, because I might as well wait a week, because I don't mind speeding things up to make a video, but I do mind when the day after your ammonia is 0, you want to leave it a little bit longer than that to put the fish in, just to be sure if it came back up again. So I'm not going to do that, but that's the first time I've noticed that I'm sort of speeding things up, whereas you're being really patient on the new tank front. It's not that new, is it?
It's not new anymore, and it's less patient than. I don't know. It's really, really odd feeling. I get, if it looked beautiful now, I'd be like putting corals in it and excited. But because it doesn't look beautiful, I'm not that excited. Now, when on Monday this week, I actually went to a tank breakdown with a friend, and it was an 8-foot tank breakdown, and it was full of acros and some trackies and things like that, and seeing that gave me like this passion again, because I was like, wow, this is a really nice tank. I could have a tank like that. But until this tank sorts itself out, you do lose. It's a really weird feeling this hobby gives you sometimes. Sometimes it's the most like euphoric, happy feeling from seeing a millimeter of growth on a frag that's done nothing for ages. And sometimes it's like just absolute, like, I don't even want to look at it because it's not where I want it to be at the moment. Now, I obviously shared the ugly stage previously. I'm not quite sure what's causing it. It's a weird one because
didn't you think it was your RO, your freshwater top
I
up?
thought, yeah, I did. Well, the strange thing is, so I have an RO barrel which I've had for a period of time, and there was no diatoms at all from that. I now added a second one, which is obviously for the water change, and then the diatoms appeared. So I'm not sure if there's something that salt water does to the barrels that fresh water doesn't do to the barrels, or something like that.
Is it worth draining it, rinsing it?
I've done
it a wipe. Oh, you've done that, yeah.
I've actually drained it twice with 600 liters of RO water and left it to absorb for a couple of days, or even the first time it was I think 2 months. But it just, as I said, the thing is, I wouldn't care normally, but because I have a YouTube channel, I feel like I need to try to progress it quicker. But now what I could do is I could black it out and turn all the lights off, and that will get rid of it almost immediately within a few days. But then I got to take the corals out, and the corals are already starting to encrust, and it's like, do I want to do that? Not really. Yeah. So I'm just going.
How long has it been going since the restart? 3 months.
The diatoms only appeared probably 2 weeks ago, I reckon, and it's only been 1 week since I've stopped doing anything, because obviously something was fueling it. Something's making it worse. They started when the fish went in, but that shouldn't really have had any major impact, because it's mainly caused by. Then again, that was also when I started doing the water changes again. So it probably is something to do with the barrel.
Silica that you introduced, supposedly. Yeah. But it's still early days. So it's still like a couple of weeks is no biggie. I've had cyano in the cade for ages. It's not really
I know, but so that tank was running obviously before I had the tank crash.
Yeah.
I loved it. I literally loved it. There was no cyano or anything. The fish were happy until I added a sick fish. So it was all good. And now I've got the fish are in and the corals are growing, but it just looks awful.
Yeah, okay. So, funny.
I had a couple here today who came to collect corals, and they wanted to see the king on it. It's almost like I'm embarrassed to let them in to show them. I'm like, look, I do know what I'm doing.
Yeah, promise.
Yeah,
I have no evidence to support that, but
well, they went in the coral farm first. Yeah. I let them in there first. It just feels like a very long time since I've had I have a lot of success with the corals in the farm, but it's been a very long time since I've had success with a display tank.
Okay.
So it just feels like it's about time I start picking things up, but we'll see.
Yeah. It'll turn around the corner at some point. Right?
They always do, anyway, don't they?
Oh, do you know what? So I know there aren't many bikers knocking around.
Okay.
But there's a lot of nice bikes in the chat. Someone mentioned about bikes. Someone's got a K9 Gixxer. There was a Fireblade. There's an R1. Very nice. That engine.
Well, they're named as badly as corals are. Fireblade for a bike.
Yeah. What else? A couple of others. There was something else as well. Anyway, yeah, lovely. So, Woody's gamer tag, super chat. Thank you. My new Oregon blue tor is dying at the tips. In addition to losing flesh, I can squish the skeleton tips with my fingers like a soggy Cheerio. That's weird.
What do you think that is? Because I have an idea. I wonder if you have the same idea.
I had no idea. Tell me.
So usually because that's what people refer to as burnt tips, isn't it? Yeah. And that's usually from having high alkalinity and low nutrients.
Yeah. So everybody's talked about alk burns with burnt tips, but I don't actually know. I don't think I've experienced burnt tips, but I've never noticed the two coinciding. But people often say that.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had them for a long time, so I'm not sure that is definitely what it is. But that's what I always assumed was the cause of burnt tips.
The weird part for that for me is squishing the skeleton tips with my fingers and then being like soggy.
They are soft when you have burnt tips. They are soft.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something to do with pH, or there are certain things that contribute to the skeleton, basically.
Yeah.
Things like strontium, calcium, and pH are important for that. So I wonder if that's it. But that's it. I didn't know that. I've never touched them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
in fact, it's not unusual for even some of the digis sometimes, because digis grow really quickly. if you touch the top of digi, sometimes they can be a bit squishy as well.
Someone's got a Ducati Diavel.
I was like, what's making you have that face?
That's just amazing.
It's a bike.
The Diavels are awesome. Anyway, so we've got some parameters.
They're not like outrageous. Yeah,
it's not crazy.
If you had said to me your output was 12 or 13, I'd go, maybe that's what's causing it.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, I don't have an answer, I'm afraid.
No.
There's a video, there's a YouTube channel called Zburn, and he's American, so you pronounce it Zburn. Zburn's Reefing, and I really like it. It's quite small, a couple of thousand subscribers, but he's one of those people that I find myself, it's just enjoyable to listen to. And he has just uploaded a video today about burn tips.
Okay.
So on his SPS, so go and check that out. Zburn.
While talking about fish-related YouTube videos, I actually watched one this week, and I don't know if you're going to put it in the news, but although it's not particularly newsworthy,
definitely it's in the news. I know what you're talking about.
Is it the BRS one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it now?
Yeah, we can talk about it now. So,
let's do it.
What did you think?
I mean, there were a few things in there to unpack. Actually, first things first.
Yeah,
that for me was a return to form for 52 weeks of reefing.
Yes, I noticed that it was more. It was very differently done to the other ones, wasn't it?
I wonder how well it's done. I would guess that's done really well. But that is what I want from 52 weeks of reefing. 12,000 views, not really. For BRS,
there was only one bit really I was interested in, and that was the grouper. That was the only bit I was interested in.
All right, well, so 2 secs for that. But so firstly, well done BRS, a fantastic job. I thought that's what I want to see from 52 weeks of reefing, and if it can keep on going like that, then that'd be great. Because one of the things they did talk about was this is the things that we've learned, we're putting into practice, and we're telling you what works and what doesn't. And I love that. So that was really cool. We'll come on to the grouper, but the first thing, although they were sharing all this stuff that was really awesome, and like the way they cycle the tanks worked, I was still like, because the way they've been doing it is that they use a company who put rock and sand in
the ocean,
Florida. I can't remember what they're called now. I had them in my mind, but that's wicked that they found that works. But first off, I can't use that because
of course,
I can't ship it over from Florida. And more to the point, because this not intended for the UK market. More to the point, it's really expensive. They didn't say how much it cost, but Ryan said it was expensive. And if Ryan says it's expensive, it's probably pretty pricey. And I just thought, I know this isn't the point of BRS of 52 season 2 isn't about making it for the everyman and repeating season 1, but just with a bit of update. They're doing it differently. So, they're not doing what I want to do. But for me, it's a shame that they're not doing it in a way that most people can copy. Tampa Bay Saltwater, something like that. Tampa Bay, anyway, what it was. So that was a bit of a shame. And the other thing with that is they had octopi.
I know, I saw that. That was weird.
The first thing I thought was, that's amazing. What a cool hitchhiker. Yeah. And then I was like, when they talked about eating fish and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, that's the worst hitchhiker you could possibly get.
Yeah.
And there is no way I would buy that rock if there's a risk it comes with those hitchhikers on it. Octopus.
Yeah. I was like, how did that even happen? Because they don't ship it in water. The octopus must have.
Yeah, they do. They literally ship it in water. Yeah, I'm sure it was either wet or in water. I'm sure they said it was in water. That's part of why it's so expensive.
Yeah.
But that's a really cool animal to have in your tank. But they're a nightmare.
Yeah. So, yeah, they would be. And there wasn't one. There was multiple, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're still in there or they got them out, but
I think they probably got them out, but I don't know. But anyway, so that was I thought it was a shame that it was their cycle. That it was brilliant that they're doing really well, but it wasn't very relatable and it was a bit unobtainable and unachievable. I was like, that's a slight shame. That was my only tinge of disappointment. I just mentioned it for completeness, and that the octopus, I was like, I'm out. But the grouper. Tell me, Ryan, because I know you and I everybody's going to be saying the same thing about the grouper. What did you think about it? It's big, isn't it?
That is a monster. That is like, it's like you do get that type of grouper in, and they're like smaller ones, which I go, okay, like fine. They pick it it wouldn't be a full adult, but they didn't pick a small one. They picked like they picked a big one, and it is super mean.
Seen the size of his mouth?
I know. And I sent you a message saying that there's no chance that those chromis are going to survive. And you replied, "I'm worried about the people that are feeding it."
Yeah. Well, he said they're biting. He was putting tangs in,
Yeah.
massive tangs, and
Yeah.
they were trying. He was trying to take a chunk out of the tangs. They had to take the tangs out, but he still said they're going to crack on and see how it gets on.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love the idea that they're doing something a bit different. But we
Yeah.
all know no one needs to put chromis in to see if they get eaten. Everybody knows what's going to happen. You don't need to try that experiment.
I know, but it's almost like they've gone down a path now, and even they know, I think, is not the right path, but they're still going down it. And someone, where was it? Someone, Andrew G, then put a grouper in with chromis is the reason I stopped watching him. It doesn't feel right. And for me, it doesn't feel right. Now, obviously, fish eat fish in the wild, yes,
of course,
but those
and
fish
we
have
buy
an
fish
opportunity.
who do end up dying, but
Yes, but the difference is those fish have an opportunity to get away.
yeah.
Those chromis do not have an opportunity to get away.
And completely.
Which means they're not actually at this point they're not chromis. They're actually feeder fish.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean, they're just it's the same as putting in like a load of damselfish with a frogfish.
It's like putting mysis shrimp in live mysis.
yeah, basically. They said it depends on how good of job they do with regards to. I just don't think there's a chance.
It's just this is the thing. So it's I think what they should do is they should stop now. They should, because they tried it, it didn't work, and they should say, you know what, this is obviously not going to work. Let's let's change something. Either just have the grouper in there because he said it was the coolest fish they've got. So if you want to try that, and he's tried all sorts of things, so you must want to try something new. So fine, keep that. But just have that, or pull it out, put a marine better in instead, and then just have it as an awesome. Because really, the point of that tank, as far as I'm concerned, and it's not me setting it up, it's Ryan setting up, and so he can do it whatever he wants. But as far as I'm concerned, the attraction of that tank is the idea of a school of chromis in this big colony of SPS. That's cool. You don't need the grouper. I get the idea that that makes the natural environment, but you don't need that grouper. You can just have just
to keep them in a shoaling form.
I know it is, but you don't have to have that tank would be 90% as cool without the grouper in it.
Yeah, well, they did say they were thinking about moving it over to the Predator tank, but you can just sort of see what happens. The grouper will be sitting on the floor in the corner at some point, and all of a sudden, you saw how quick it was in that video, didn't you?
Yeah,
that is like I didn't expect them to move that quickly.
No, it was actually frightening.
Yeah. It's not like it wasn't like a lionfish where or a frogfish where they slowly creep up and then grab it. This was like,
yeah. I hope they put it in the Predator tank.
Well, they did say they were going to.
They said they were thinking about it.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean,
I really hope they do.
It'll be interesting to see if they actually do it, or because let's put it so, if I think it's not right and other people think it's not right, there's going to be lots more people than just me and that person. Even you, I assume, think probably not right.
It's borderline for me. It's funny. There's something I agree. I just don't really like it.
If you saw a YouTube channel which was feeding live goldfish to piranhas, you'd be like,
I don't like that. I would. So if this isn't the test, but for me, I wouldn't make that video. I wouldn't be comfortable doing that. I think, you know what, as much as anything, even if I thought I wanted to do it, I would be thinking the backlash from this, quite rightly, is going to be too much. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And for BRS as well, their channel's much bigger than mine. They've got much more exposure. So I wonder if they will think twice and say, you know what, let's just put it in the Predator tank and hope it eats the lionfish. Then everyone's on board with that. So.
Well, because then people are getting what they want, a fish to eat another fish. And
what I actually think they should do is put that grouper back in the sea, because I think that's got no place in the tank. Because if it's moving that quick and it's that big, there's the fish we keep, like tangs, Acanthoris tangs in particular, they swim a long way in a day. So putting them in you might think a 7-foot tank is massive. Put them in a 7-foot tank is far too small for them. Okay, so this is going, and I do that with my tank. I've got fish in my tank that will swim for miles in a day, and it's a 4-foot tank. So I know I'm a hypocrite, but there's levels to this, and that
Yeah,
grouper is bloody massive. He should be in a public aquarium or somewhere like that. That for me, I just think they should. That would my first choice for the. If they said to me, Alex, we want you to run our YouTube channel for the next month,
yeah.
I would say, okay, do you know what? My first choice is that you put that grouper, send it to a public aquarium or put it back in the ocean, whatever. Second choice is you put it in the predator tank, and the third choice is you keep it where it is, but no other fish in there.
Yeah.
And if they came to me and said, well, what about option D? I'd say, oh, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Those are your options. Choose one.
I just don't know why they didn't pick a baby one. Because
maybe
then
they're
it's
hard to get.
no, because most of the fish that we have in the hobby are juveniles, whereas that's not a juvenile. That's like a big one. So, but we shall see what the future holds. If they came, it's interesting because I am against it. But if they also came back and went, we're not trying this, I'd be like, cowards.
You wanted to see it.
No, I want to see it work. That's what I actually want. I want it to work, but I don't believe it will.
Okay.
So
no, but that's the thing. I'm on board with the experiment, the idea, but when it's very obvious it's not going to work, I'm just going to pull this comment up. So it could never release any fish. That's why Florida is effed and the Caribbean because of wild fish. What are you going to do? Fly it to Indonesia? I'm not saying put the grouper literally just open, go to your nearest body of salt water and put it in. That's not what I mean. I mean send it back from whence it came. So if they got it from Florida, put it back in Florida, whatever. If they got it from Australia, then okay, that's off the cards. I'm not saying you should release a fish into your nearest pond,
Yeah.
but fair challenge.
Definitely, if you're in the UK, not down Bognor seafront, because I don't think it's going to survive.
Don't put your macros in there because we don't want a coral reef on the south coast of England. Thank you very much.
True.
But yeah, so I go on.
I think one of the biggest issues actually for the oceans with regards to transferring fish from one place to another is not actually like the marine aquarium hobby. I'm pretty sure it's something to do with boats. I think boats bring in a load of water or something to balance them out. Is that correct?
Ballast,
yeah. And sometimes they are transferring fish from entirely different locations to different parts of the world. So that is also an issue which you never hear about. You always hear about the Florida lionfish. You never hear about those ones.
Well, so not fishing boats, just boats like
no, I think
cruise liners.
I'm not sure how it is, but it's something to do with like massive ships. They take on some waters for some reason.
Submarines?
No, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about it. I saw it somewhere, and I just thought that's interesting because I've never heard about that, but I've definitely heard about fish being like released into the wild for the aquarium hobby.
Yeah. But I bet if you had to, who knows? Maybe that was what brought lionfish to the Caribbean and to Florida.
No, that was probably exactly. a dumb person. Yeah. I wonder if there's someone out there going, "Oh,
that was me." Yeah, the first person. Yeah. But yeah, so there we go. So that's that was the BRS. And that was just there were a couple of things I didn't like about that video, but my overall. Because I think everybody's been a bit disappointed with 52 Weeks season 2, and we've been a little bit critical. But my overriding feeling coming away from that video was brilliant. They're back at it. This is cool.
Hopefully.
And I thought because they had a few weeks off with Black Friday and all this as well, so I hope they do get back into it. But it was good to see it back to something resembling what I wanted this to be.
I thought to myself, I wonder if they heard us moan.
You wonder what?
Why. I wonder because obviously I thought that the format had changed, so I wonder if they heard us moan, but the chances are they didn't.
They'll be taking on feedback,
but not from us.
Not necessarily from us, but there might be some people who because there's probably someone we get about 4,000 or 5,000 views a week, so there might be someone from BRS. I suspect there is. So this feedback might get back to them, but more likely. They do check their own comments and they will see we're not there. See, I always say this, the things that we say, sometimes we might say things a little bit critical. The things we say though are not, this is not just you and me out on a limb and from, talking rubbish. Yeah. Well, sometimes it is, but these are things that everybody says. So there will be the things we're saying will be said in the comment section of their videos and probably 10 times as harsh because we're a bit more circumspect.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Prestige Reef Dork influence.
And
to be fair, something that is interesting is if I've found this, I don't know if you've found it. Sometimes I'll mention something on a live stream, and then within a week, I'll get a message from someone going, "Oh, you said you wanted this fish. It's at this shop," or "Oh,
Yeah,
you mentioned this. So how about this?" I had a shop contact me yesterday. I must have at some point said I would like to have a Moorish idol, which I don't remember saying. But a shop sent me a. Did I say it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I feel
Maybe
like
I did say it. I don't remember. Like, because the guy sent me a video of a Moorish idol, and I was like, okay, yep, it's a Moorish idol eating. Why has he sent me that? So, and then he sent me the link to the website, and I was like, okay, so he obviously wants me to buy it. Why did he send me that? And then he said, oh, one of my staff said you were looking for one of these.
Yeah.
But I don't remember saying that. I might have said they're the sort of fish I would want, but because I don't want it, firstly, because it definitely eats coral. Well, there's got a high chance of eating coral, and I've got enough of those already. But yeah, maybe I came across the wrong way. But yeah, I don't want a Moorish idol.
You do not want a Moorish idol.
I probably just said you don't find healthy ones very often. That was a very, very healthy one, to be fair. It was slightly tempting. But
yeah,
it was £120. They're not Moorish idols are not cheap anymore.
120. Do you know what though?
30 quid.
Yeah, on price. So someone, this is my work from home. This is my home office, right? So I'm on Teams during the day, and you can see the tank in the background. But normally I have my background blurred, so you can't really make out what it is. But the last week I just thought, sod it, I don't want to blur anymore, so I took it off. And someone saw the tank, and they thought the torch corals were anemones, but I let that fly.
Yeah.
Oh, what? I forgot what I was going to say. What were you just saying?
Well, I was talking. Well, I was said that people see stuff on the live stream sometimes, and then they'll contact me, and I was talking about Moorish idols, and a shop contacted me.
Idols. I can't remember.
You're an old man now, aren't you?
I'll start a sentence, and then I'm like, hang on, what was I saying? I'll remember that. There was a point. It was a good point.
Something about anemones and torch corals, and you're on a Teams meeting, and you didn't blur the background.
It's gone. I can't remember what I was going to say. Anyway, I'll remember it. I'll remember it tomorrow, and I'll do a 5-second live stream. Say it was this. Anyway.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? So, all right. So that was and that was kind of the BRS thing. I was going to talk about in the news, but hey, we're there now. But we're going to move on to the next stage, which is member questions. I'm gonna. So there's 3 member questions that I've got here. This is normally member questions in a Facebook group. There were a couple of things I was going to talk about on the Facebook group, but I'm going to cut them off because we've already spent an hour chatting rubbish. So, which is not uncommon. So 3 questions then. First one is from I Like Weird Fish, who I think I've seen already. So he's here. I got a tang. I told myself I'd never get one of those boring, dirty bullies, winky face. But alas, my tank of non-reef safe wrasse has killed all my cleanup crew. Oh, really? And my sweet, peaceful gem of a fox face can only do so much. Have you gotten something? Have you gotten something you told yourself you would never get? Told yourself you would never get. Yeah. By the way, I love wild tangs. I just prefer snails and urchins for algae control, as they don't bully or carry disease. So, have you ever got a fish despite telling yourself that you'd never do it?
Oh. Loads.
All the time.
All the time. Literally all the time. I think the longer you're in the hobby, the more risks you're willing to take. Copperman was definitely one of them. I remember at the very beginning going, I'll never have that. I remember saying I'll never have coral ever, which is ironic now. I remember never saying I'd never have a boxfish. And then one day my girlfriend at the time walked in, which was actually Miss Saltwater Tank. She's actually the reason I had the boxfish. She walked in, she went, I want you to get that. And I went, okay. Really? And it was fine. Yeah. So I always said I'd never have a boxfish. Like angelfish, because they eat coral, I said I'd never have. So there's probably, I think your list of what you'll never have changes. So I've also said I'll never have an Achilles, but will I eventually have an Achilles? If I'd been in this hobby for like another 30 years, the chances are I will have had an Achilles. But in 30 years' time, they're probably like 10 grand.
Yeah. Okay. Copper bum was definitely one for me. But I do it all the time. I know it's a bad idea, and I do it anyway. And then immediately it goes wrong, and I'm annoyed at myself for doing it.
Yeah.
Corals in particular. So I tried to avoid really tricky corals, but certainly in not so much now, but certainly in the last few years, because my
Is the man with a mostly acro tank.
oh yeah. But I mean fiddly acro. So like a few years, my tank now is established, it's mature, and it's not often that I put a coral in and it dies.
Yeah.
But I try to avoid buying wild corals because I still struggle with them. I did that. I don't know. Every time I buy one, I just think, you know what, I'm just going to do it this last one time, and it'll be okay. And I buy it and it dies. I'm like, oh, why did I do it? But the last time I did that before that was an ice fire echinata, which is an extremely finicky, notoriously finicky acro.
Yeah.
And I bought it. I told myself I shouldn't. Oh no, actually, do you know what? I don't think I knew how difficult it was. But anyway, I wouldn't buy that again because it's just going to die. And they're a pain in the backside. Is it speciosa as well that's difficult? There are a few acros that are just you're better steering clear of.
Yeah.
But good question. I like that. Second question. Hi, Alex Ryan. How long after installing a new tank and adding copepods would you add a mandarin? My tank is 10 months old now, and I've been adding copepods. I'm actually considering one. I think he's in the ballpark, personally.
There's no real right or wrong answer for this, because you could put a mandarin, it could eat all those copepods in like a week. Yeah. It's more about continually feeding it the copepods over a long period of time, as well as buying a tank bred one. They are a lot more expensive. But if you can feed them pellets, you're like you're like mostly out there.
Yeah.
So that's what, and some of them do eat pellets, especially, as I said, the tank bred ones. Some of the non-tank bred ones will eat them, but it's very rare. So it's more about getting the right specimen than having the correct amount of copepods in your tank. Because trust me, it will soon just obliterate your copepods eventually.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. I think it's about having the right environment as well. So I would really like just a scooter blenny. I really like this. I think the scooter blennies are awesome, and they're probably a little bit less finicky. But I would really like one of those. But I've stopped myself because I don't think I've got quite a lot of other fish that would compete with it. So fish that I know and I've seen. So I've got a few wrasses, and wrasses eat copepods and amphipods. Yeah, and I've seen amphipods. Sorry, copepods are tiny, right? Absolutely, you can see them, but they're minute. I have seen my hawkfish eating copepods. They hoover them up. They go over and go. So I've got a couple of other fish as well. I've probably got half a dozen fish that would compete with it, and I've had I had a flame scooter blenny for about 2 years, and I had a pair of them, and then they died. And 2 years that's a short life for them. They should be living much longer than that. So I don't do that now because I think it's probably, and I don't have a refugium so on that tank, so I think it's probably not a good idea for them. And it's one of those fish that I think you're probably better off trying to give it the best possible chance. Doesn't mean, like, if I put a mandarin in there, it might be absolutely fine. I just think I wouldn't be giving it its best chance. So I would want to know what other fish you've got, how big it is, if you've got a refugium, all those sorts of things. But ultimately, I wouldn't say, oh, you mustn't get one. Absolutely don't do it, because there's a chance it'll die. You've got to be okay with that. You've got to realize that. But I wouldn't say, no, don't do it.
I think that they are one of those fish where people, for some reason, think that they are the lucky one, or they're the special one, or their tank is different or more special than everyone else's, and that they can have one without issue. Like, people, do you see what I mean? People buy one going, yeah, it's going to be fine, and then it's not fine.
Because you'll do that thing where you go researching it, but you look for the research you want to see.
Yes,
you look for and I've done this before. You find 10 people who've struggled with it and one person who's had success.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, he did this, I'll do that, and I'd be cool. But yeah, but I still they're on my list of. Are they on my list? No, they're not.
I got one on my list as well.
Okay, so they are not on my list of. I thought about putting it on my list, but they are not on my list of expert only fish that are worth a shot, because they're a bit hit or miss. But
as far as I think, they are the fish for the arrogant hobbyist. They're the fish for that someone goes, I am going to be different to the 99% other people who didn't have success.
That is the best advice.
Yeah.
but I wouldn't necessarily say don't do it, particularly if you've got all the other things that are giving it his best chance.
Yeah.
Next question, final question from the YouTube members. Rich's Reef, your recent live streams on picking fish made me realise when I first changed from freshwater, excuse me, I'm just going to cough. When I first changed from freshwater to saltwater, I planned my tank around my fish list. But on my current mixed reef tank, I plan the whole tank around the corals I wanted. If I have a fish and a coral I want, which are completely incompatible, I will always side with the coral instead of the fish. Which camp do you fall in? Prestige.
Well, in the coral farm, I side with the coral, and in the I side with fish. But generally, I have always it's hard. No, well, okay, I had a Regal Angel, so I couldn't have acans. So I guess that gives you your answer, if you see what I mean. So I think I do prefer fish generally, unless the fish is absolutely outrageous, like some of the like coral eating butterfly fish, which I obviously then never would have. So I don't think you can go very specifically one way or the other. I think it's like
you're not in this hobby if you hate corals but love fish, or love fish but hate corals. But there's definitely like a balance. You're 60-40 in favor of one or the other. I always see you as a fish man, and I think of myself as a coral man. So that's a really good way of testing it. And I do still, there are times when I will avoid having fish that I know are going to eat my corals or will be incompatible with the reef tank. But at the same time, there are sometimes I break that rule because some fish are just so awesome, like the Regal Angel. It's a risk. Like the copperhand, it's a risk. And the copperhand ate my acans.
There you go.
So for the most part, I try to choose. I love reef safe fish and I love peaceful fish. So that's what I try to choose because the corals are more important to me. But at the same time, it is 60-40. It's not like I'm 100% corals. And there are some fish that are worth it for sure. And I've tried several fish in this tank, in my main tank, my SPS tank, that were not suitable, that were a risk. But I thought they were worth it. And it hasn't paid off most times. Probably 7 out of 10 hasn't paid off.
Yeah.
And actually, I can only think of the 2 that have paid off, that were the Regal Angel and the Copper Band.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, I must message one of my customers because he has a Moorish Idol in his tank and a Regal Angel, and then he bought a Tracky yesterday, and I'm like, that seems like it might be a bad idea, but he's that sort of person.
The fish will be happy.
I literally want to message him going, has it pecked your Tracky? But he gets away with other corals, so why would maybe he's lucky? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I must message him tonight because I did say to him, look, I think this is a risk, and he said, yeah, I also think it's a risk. I'm going to do it anyway. So.
But those were the YouTube member questions. Some good questions there, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
Someone in the chat, Ethan, asked a question just a minute ago. I know he's not a member, but I actually know Ethan.
That's fine. Yeah.
Ethan's I think he's a young guy. I think he's only like 13. Okay. I've known him for a couple of years now because his dad comes to the coral farm, and he said, "Is there anything that we're looking forward to?" Is there anything that we're looking forward to? Basically, I think is what the question said. And I thought to myself, I'm not really sure what I'm looking forward to, so I wanted to ask you. I'm looking forward to actually having coral in that water box, and I think that I'm going to put coral in it that I don't have in the farm. I think that's what will give me love of it. I'll get more enjoyment if I'm not just putting the same corals in.
Yeah. So I'll answer that question. Excuse me. First off, you don't have to be a member to get your questions asked. And someone did. This was a while ago. Someone did comment on one of the live streams and say, "Oh, so you've put questions behind a paywall, have you?" That's not my. I suppose you could say that's what I've done, but that's not my intention. My intention was membership. You don't really get much for membership, so I wanted to give some kind of perks, and I've added some kind of perks. So that's the intention of it. But it doesn't mean that if you ask a question, I'm not going to read it out. It's just that it's a nice way of filtering. Yeah. Because we get hundreds of questions. Anyway, I know you know that. But so what was the question from Ethan? What are you looking forward to? Yeah.
Yeah, is it what are you looking forward to in the future the hobby will bring, basically?
It's a funny hobby, isn't it? Because you don't have things that you like with motorbiking. I can't wait to get back on my bike if we had a week when it was completely dry, I'd be back on my my bike, and I really look forward to it. And I look forward to the weather picking up in April and getting back on it. And I would look forward to, if I booked a track day, I'd look forward to that. If you're into traveling, you might really look forward to a particular holiday, or you might look forward to a time of year when it opens up the certain places you can go to. But in reef keeping, I don't know, maybe this is just because I've become a grumpy reef keeper, but I don't find there are specific things that I look forward to. Like setting up a new tank, that's cool, and that gets you excited. But
it does it.
Oh well, you then have a period when it's a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
But the prospect of that. But for me, I don't think there's nothing that I think with my two main tanks, my water box and my Red Sea.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything with that I'm thinking, I can't wait to do this. What I'm really looking forward to is it being grown out. But that's not something that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I can't wait to see it, but it'll probably be in 12 months' time, or maybe maybe longer. So it's funny in that, but I don't think there's anything I'm looking forward to as such. But I just I've just enjoyed the last week or so, just enjoying the tank. That's been nice without having. I'm not trying to progress it. I'm not trying to do anything different with it. I'm not trying to change anything, which I often am. I'm trying to buy new lights for once. So
you can also look forward to difficult fish. No, not difficult fish, hard to find fish as well. So I know at some point before, like in the next 30 years, we will both get that Japanese angelfish.
I don't know.
If we mention it every week, someone is going to find it. And if you found that Japanese angelfish, but you only found a male, would you buy it?
Yeah. I'd probably, to be honest, I'd probably end up getting a pair.
If there was only, because you want the female, don't you? So if there was only one and it was only a male,
I see what you mean.
Would you buy it, or would you let me have it?
Oh well, ordinarily I would say no, you can have it, of course, absolutely. But given what you said the other week, that you threw me over, I remembered that. So sod you. Woody's Gamer Chat super tag, and we're going to talk about bikes again. It says, tell us which bike you have, or we riot. I have an MT10, so cross-plane engine. It's just
I don't even have a push bike.
No. But anyway, so is there this week? Is there a Prestige Reef Fish and Coral of the Week?
I have done a fish of the week.
Because I feel like we'll do that then, but I feel like we've got to the point where there aren't many more obscure fish unless you're going to.
Oh no, there's loads of few. I've got a curveball this week, and I can't tell you anything about it. I just know it was like, I remember there being one in the shop for literally for a year. It was just sitting there, and it was so aggressive. You put your finger near it, it would try and come and bite you. So what do you reckon it is?
Firstly, I love this comment. Reef keeping is
I know.
And anxiety.
It's so relaxing. It's so relaxing having a reef tank. No, it's not. It's not even remotely relaxing having.
There are times when it is, but a lot of times when it's not. I've got no idea what it is. You have to tell me.
It is an undulated triggerfish. Is what I decided to go for.
Yeah. You do see them from time to time. Green,
or the other one. Actually, no. So I've just realized it wasn't an undulated. It was actually a scribbled triggerfish. Which was the one that was in the shop for a year, which was like super mean. But either will do.
Which one's the scribbled? Wild fish.
If you type scribble, if you type blue line triggerfish, it comes up. Actually, no. If you type blue line triggerfish, it comes up in the
trigger. Fish.
I actually really like these fish, but they are one of those fish you just can't put with anything because they're just so mean. Yes, those. It was a big one. It was like it wasn't like a little small one like the ones in some of these pictures. It was like an adult. And
the big ones look a bit boring, don't they? Or do they?
No, this one looked amazing, but you literally could not even put your hand in to clean the glass. It was so mean. I think fish that are like that have personality. As opposed to a clownfish, it adds a little bit of of excitement to the hobby.
Like in the way Mike Tyson has personality.
Yeah, if you're worried you might lose a finger while cleaning your glass, that adds excitement.
It does. This is true. So there are some triggerfish in the wild that when they're spawning, they'll have like a territory around their nest. Someone was a shop owner was telling me this. He went scuba diving and he got within something like 10 meters of I can't remember which triggerfish it was, but maybe a clown trigger. It was one that we see in the hobby. He got within about 10 meters of the nest and it came and started trying to bite his flippers.
Yeah, I've had that.
But you had the queen trigger, didn't you?
It was a Titan trigger, I think, is what it was. Or it was either a queen or I'm pretty sure it was a Titan. It was a little while ago now, but they come and try to bite your as you're swimming away, they will bite your flippers. Because you're like, you want to put as much distance between you and the fish. It's funny because I will happily swim with sharks and I will not feel anything. But one of those fish, they frighten you.
That's the thing. I was about to say a shark isn't going to eat you. A tiger shark or a bull shark might do.
Yes.
But a little reef
within
shark,
reason.
Yeah, a little reef shark, 6 footer, that's not going to eat you. Yeah. But a triggerfish is going to have a crack at it.
Yeah. It's funny because there are some things which when you're scuba diving that you literally don't feel anything. You're like, oh, that's cool. And then there are some things like triggerfish. You're like, I am staying well away from that. They have you're right about the nest. They actually have a cone shaped nest.
Okay.
So it's if the nest is at the bottom, their territory is a cone upwards. So if the fish is chasing you, don't swim up to the surface because you're still within its area. You have to swim sideways to get away from it. Yeah.
Interesting. This is in fact. So that's exactly what the shop owner was describing to me. I love this picture.
Yeah.
Nest territory. Oh dear God, the guy says.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it is a cone. So you just keep swimming horizontally.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't swim up.
This isn't relevant, but I remember when I was scuba diving once. I was quite far down, I kicked the oxygen mask out of my sister's mouth. So I was. What did you say?
What had she done to you?
Nothing. She was just swimming behind me, but she was obviously too close. But you're not meant to swim to the surface. And I felt that I kicked something, and all of a sudden I turned around and I just see her shoot up.
Oh God!
She obviously panicked. We couldn't have been that deep. We were only kids at the time. I reckon I was like 12 and she would have been 10. But
decompression sickness if you're not careful.
Yeah, as I said, we couldn't have been that deep, but it probably felt deep for a 12 and 10-year-old.
Yeah. And that's blind panic if you.
Yeah. I think my sister or my parents thought I was trying to bump her off.
Yeah.
So anyway, after mentioning about trying to kill my sister, anyway, moving on.
We'll move on. There's no Prestige Reef cover of the week then.
I wanted to ask you something.
Oh God, what?
I
hate it when you springs this stuff on me.
And so I've even tried Googling this, and I will show you this tomorrow. I have a Gonny in my tank, and I mentioned it in one of my videos. And it's not a Bernardapora because where it like has a little bit. You know how they have like sort of small tentacles?
Yeah.
This has none. This is literally, it just is the flower bit. And it's not a Gonny which is not open. It is literally just none. And I had a message from someone who collects corals in Indonesia after I showed that video. And they went, oh yeah, we call that a micro Gonny. And I wondered if you'd ever heard of that before.
I bet this is the sort of thing that Jake Adams would know because he's seen all those sorts of obscure ones. I know Gonnies and Bernards. That's about it. But I'll have a look tomorrow because it might be one I'm like, oh, well, you know what?
Because that was what I was going to have as it, but it's hard to describe it because just think of a Gonny that's got no stalk on it.
Yeah,
look, as far as I know, the guy might. Yeah, that's true. The guy who messaged me might be wrong. I don't know, but he said, yeah, I'm a collector and we just call them micro Gonnies here. So
okay. Interesting.
It will look cool. If I frag it, it will look cool. But as a big piece, which is like this size, it just looks odd.
Yeah, okay.
So
well, in which case we'll have a Reef Dork coral of the week.
Hey, go on then.
Because this is one thing I did buy this week. This Gonny.
Nice.
That is an Amazeballs Gonny.
Yeah, they're meant to be quite expensive, aren't they?
It was really expensive, or for me anyway.
Yeah.
If I think about it, I think that might be the most expensive coral I've ever bought. How
much?
250 quid.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were.
And it's not a big frag. Actually, it's not a bad size frag, but I've been looking at this. I've been looking at that for ages. They popped up suddenly in the UK. A couple of shops had them, and I think it was 350 quid originally.
Yeah.
And I really wanted it, but I was like, I can't spend that much money. And then eventually it got to the point where I found one. I was looking the other day. I can't remember why I started looking. I probably heard someone say it, and I found one on eBay, and I was like, it was 250 quid. And you can never tell from the photos. That's one thing that put me off.
Yeah.
I was like, it wasn't a photo where they were obviously trying to make it look polished, but it was a photo where I thought, is that what it's going to look? If I'm spending that much money, I'd like to see it in the flesh, really. But I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to get the chance to buy this again, so sod it, I'm going to do it, and I'm not disappointed. It's really nice. It's actually from a place in Stoke-on-Trent, a local fish shop called Future Frags.
Okay, yeah, that's where I get my frag from.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Pavel, the guy is. He was really friendly.
I've never been there. I just I don't think I've been there actually.
No, it was funny because I ordered it, and I've got a Reef Dork eBay account, and I actually didn't. I was trying to order it from my other account, but it wouldn't sign me out for whatever. Anyway, but I ordered it from Reef Dork, and when I placed the order, he replied and was like, "Oh, hi, yeah, I've seen your videos and stuff." But yeah, there's one left, so if you want it, you might not get a chance to get one again. It's really nice coral. It's a nice coral. Yeah. So that's the Reef Dork coral of the week.
There you go.
Which means we're on to the news. And there's yeah, are you dancing along to that as well?
Yeah, I was dancing, and then and then you immediately stop when the music stops.
Yeah, okay. And there's quite a lot of news this week. Actually, we've already done.
Well, you better be quick because we're gonna run out of time again if we're not careful.
It's fine. We'll rattle through it when we get to the time. It's fine. I've just come to the realization now. I don't care if it means that we get if there's 15 minutes left and that's the point we start talking about the headline topic. So be it. I would rather we just have a proper chat than rush through it. I don't like it when we rush. I don't like it, right? Anyway, so sorry if you're just tuning in for that. Anyway,
basically what he just said is if you're just tuning in for that, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care. I do care. I care about everybody. But the first piece of news was your favorite type of tank.
Well, I'm trying to think of what this could be.
So TMC, which is
I know what this is. Yes, I know what this is.
Europe's biggest importer of fishing corals.
Yeah,
and they do some dry goods as well. They have brought out a Kreisel tank, aka a jellyfish tank.
Yes,
should have done that the other way around. A jellyfish tank, which is also known as a Kreisel tank. I presume Kreisel is German for jellyfish or something. Or
it probably means doesn't it mean
it's German for round or
a round flow? I think, doesn't it? Or it's something to do with
anyway. Whatever. That's I don't know why I've just suddenly gone down that rabbit hole. But yeah, Kreisel tanks. So there are two of them. They're 10 liters and 15 liters, so they're quite small.
Yeah,
but they are cheap. They're 100. Were they? Oh, I've written the price down. Hang on,
they are quite small actually. Because I think the other ones, the main ones, I can't remember what Orbit. I think those are 30 liters. I think.
Yeah,
so 10 and 15.
These are how much were those? Do you remember how much the Orbit ones were?
It was a long time. It must have been probably 6 years ago. I had one.
I'm sure they were like 400 quid. A normal jellyfish tank. These are 160 quid for the 10 litre and 170 for the 15 litre. Most people are going to go for the 15 litre. I guess the only reason not to is if you haven't got space. But if you want to put it on a shelf or whatever. Do you know what though? It talked about what fish you can keep what jellyfish you can keep in them, and it didn't really mean anything to me because I don't know anything about jellyfish. But I looked them up. They're quite expensive.
Moon jellyfish is usually what's in them.
I've just remembered what I was going to say. We were talking earlier about.
I think I'm going to distract you until you forget about it again.
No. I know what I'm going to say. We were talking earlier about teams, and it was the price of fish. What's that got to do with the price of fish? And he said, my colleague said, "Oh, is that a saltwater tank then?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, they're quite expensive, aren't they?" And I was like, "Well, actually, the fish aren't that bad." And he said, "Oh, I thought clownfish were like 50 quid." And I was like, "Oh, well, if you think that's expensive, then yes."
Yeah.
It made me realise I've become numb to the price of some fish.
That is so true.
50 quid is like, oh no, that's not too bad, but 50 quid is ridiculous for a fish. It's just because I'm used to doing it. Anyway,
that is so true. Especially for me these days, I'm just like, oh yeah, because I wouldn't pay anything. I wouldn't pay more than 30 quid for a fish before. I think
Yeah,
And now,
exactly. Yeah.
well,
So,
that's not strictly true, but when I bought what was it? When I bought the purple Tang for 120, I was like, oh, this hurts so much.
that's I used to be a lot more price sensitive. Even in the last couple of years,
Yeah.
I've changed.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, Kreisel tank then. So 15-litre tank is 170 quid, which is pretty reasonably priced. But the jellyfish, they're expensive. They were like 30 quid each.
Yeah.
And I think I
Are they
presume
the
you need
moon
half a
jellyfish?
dozen. They were moon jellyfish. There were. I found it a little bit difficult. I did look them up. I was going to try to show you the jellyfish, the
Yeah.
different types, but there was one that they called it a spotted jellyfish, and there were like half a dozen different types of spotted jellyfish. So I couldn't work out which one they were talking about. But the ones they say it's suitable for, and this is just Reef Builder's article: moon jellyfish, cannonball jellyfish, marble jellyfish, and spotted jellyfish. That means nothing to me. The moon ones I've seen, they're just like the typical blob of see-through gump. But they've got different these tanks have got different color LEDs. They've got a little filtration section. It's the sort of thing that I think this is, we've probably said this before. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it's the sort of thing you'd love for like 6 months or maybe a month. And then you'd be like, but I think it would be really, for me, to have one behind me would be amazing. It'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm just not prepared to put in the effort to maintain it.
I
Because
think
it doesn't give you much back, does it?
if you're feeding them newly hatched brine shrimp, they usually do better than if you feed them a powder.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and the powder also usually makes the water dirty. So a lot of the American people that keep jellyfish, I think Reef Dudes has one. I don't know if he's still got them, but he's been for a long time. I'm sure he had him on his desk, and he was feeding them pretty sure newly hatched baby brine shrimp.
Okay,
and had good success with them. But it is effort to feed them.
That's quite a lot of effort though, because if you're just getting powder, you can keep it in a cupboard.
Yes.
If you've got to have newly hatched brine fish, that they're coming through every week, and you got to order them.
I did have the powder, and the problem that I found with the powder was it leaves streaks, because obviously the flow's going round.
Right.
That you're going to get some like little imperfections in it, and that powder then starts to and you have to clean it, and it's the same as a normal tank. You're going to get algae in it, but now you're cleaning a round tank rather than and you're not just cleaning the glass, you have to clean the actual bottom of it as well, because it won't look white.
How you can do that with the jellies in there? Because you can clean algae off a tank easily, can't you?
So what I used to literally to catch the jellyfish, take them out, put them in a bucket. Strip the entire tank down, clean it all, fill it back up, put the jellyfish back in, because jellyfish can handle they're relatively good at not handling not the perfect quality water. I think that's correct. I think that's correct. It's probably not advised, and it does.
Yeah, but
they did it. The problem is when I had it, there wasn't the same amount of information that there probably is now about keeping them.
I bet there's still not that much.
And when you come across a problem, so if you come across white spot with a fish tank, you can Google it, and there's thousands of people. Yes. Whereas I remember I had a jellyfish once where it just sort of stop. They sort of pulse like this. This one they basically turn into a bell where they stop pulsing, and just the little bottom bits just go. And I'm like, I don't know what to do about this because there's no one else really that can tell me what to do about this.
Yeah.
But I said this was probably 7 years ago.
Yeah, you probably can fix that sort of thing, but just that's the thing. And like the maintenance you've just described actually isn't that hard at all.
Yeah,
it's just
effort.
Puts you and me off, because it's not, and you're not going to get much back from a jellyfish. Like, I don't mind doing that maintenance on my main tank because I get a lot back from it.
Yeah,
but on this tank I do mind. But I think for the right person that could be cool. But you're not going to get much back from a jellyfish. It just spins around. They look cool, but actually someone said, I can't remember who it was. There was a video the other day that I thought was brilliant. It made a really good point. It's just a lava lamp.
That's in my video.
It was you. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I described them as the world's most ungrateful pet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
and I also said you could get the same effect. I obviously had some sort of personal vendetta against jellyfish when I made that video. I said you can get the same effect by putting a carrier bag in a fish tank and letting it flow around. And there is actually a clip in that video at the very end where there's carrier bags, like Tesco's bags, in a thing, and people comment on that video going, I didn't realize that was a plastic bag.
Ah,
So they actually thought, before I mention it, they actually thought that they
jellyfish.
were jellyfish.
That's very funny. I did have briefly. I had that little fake jellyfish tank over my shoulder,
Yeah.
didn't I? And it was annoying because it in the images in the marketing bump, the jellyfish spin around all the time and they look really cool. But the reality was they all just end up stuck at the top. And so it
So
looked a
those
bit
were
rubbish.
fake jellyfish, weren't they? Just to
Yeah.
clarify.
Oh yeah. But one thing I found with that was the really good thing was because it was just tap water that you put in. Or actually, I did put RADI water in, even though it was like silicon plastic jellyfish.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing like there was no live animals going in. It was just a plastic jellyfish, fake one. I put in a load of hydrogen peroxide because I was like, well, that's going to keep algae at bay.
True.
I don't know if it wears off over like a couple of weeks or whatever, but I had it for a couple of months and it didn't ever grow any algae and it had lights on all the time. But
I might try that. See if that gets rid of diatoms. Just chuck a load in.
Yeah, you might not want to.
I'm joking. To clarify. Just quickly while we're on this, one of the things that I did find was brilliant about these tanks was actually breeding Banggai cardinal fish.
Oh, okay.
And the reason was Banggai cardinal fish need to be fed newly hatched baby brine shrimp to survive.
Okay.
But I managed to avoid that by putting it in one of those tanks where it keeps the food suspended. So I managed to successfully raise them, which was apparently at the time wasn't supposed to not be able to be done. I managed to raise them on dead food or like frozen food rather than actually using live food. You get a lower success rate from doing it, but it is possible, and I did it a few times. And because of the water quality was the biggest issue, I actually plugged the jellyfish tank into my 1,000 liter tank so that it was having the filtration of 1,000 liters. But so I literally couldn't put too much food in there that would kill them. But
interesting, I like that.
Yeah, it was good fun.
But there you go. So if you want a jellyfish tank, they're now more affordable than they were in the past.
There you go.
Although I didn't actually see when, and I've just closed the page, I didn't see when they're available, but I would guess soon because pricing has been announced.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it's UK, or well, Europe only probably. But anyway, not for me, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I said I actually might get one, but not for jellyfish. I might get one again for breeding Banggais. So
you won't.
What did you say? No, I won't. No, I actually might.
No, you won't. That won't happen.
Well, I've got too much. I've got too much to deal with. You're
right.
I was
going to say, Reefers. I'm telling you now, you and me, we know. It's not gonna happen. And we'll remind each other. Okay, so that's the Creasel tank. Next up is a new powerhead, and I know you bloody love new powerheads.
Oh, I love talking about powerheads.
This is gossip, Ryan. This is an unofficial leak.
1 second, let me just go on my phone for a while.
No, gossip, and this is a leak. Yeah. This is exciting. I went on the Reef Factory family Facebook page earlier, and someone had posted this, and this is a screenshot of the app when you go to add a new device, and they'd circled the SmartWave pump, and that's not supposed to be there. It hasn't been announced yet.
Oh.
We all knew they were working on a powerhead, but it's this. To be fair, that might have been a Reef Factory employee for all I know. but this hasn't been formally announced. But that looks like a Jekod SLW20 powerhead, which is basically the same. It looks the same as a Nero 5, the AI
that's
Nero.
what I thought it looked like.
Yeah, and so that's not especially exciting on its own because you can buy the Jekod already, or you can buy the AI Nero already. The Reef Factory app is really good, so that's a differentiator. But if that pump comes with a battery backup connector that's easy to plug in, like the MP40s is, please do that. I would love it. I don't think it will, but I want another option. I don't, because one of the main reasons I have MP40s is because it's battery backup. I think if it weren't for that, I would have swapped out to something else.
Yeah.
So I would love a second option. A cheaper option, because MP40s are now so expensive that it's like so if there was another option, if they have battery backups, I have no inside information whatsoever. I would love it if they had battery backups.
There you go.
But who knows, they probably won't, but it would be cool. And obviously I have no information on price, size, all that sort of stuff, because it's like a leak effectively, but it wasn't taken down from the Reef Factory page, so I presume it's not like top secret.
How can you be top secret about a pump anyway?
Well, I don't know. It's not that big a deal, is it? It's not. Yeah. Anyway, so next up, you hate maintenance, right?
I got a whole list of things I hate, but yeah, maintenance is one of them. So
yeah, we'll keep it down to just to reefing. Well, there is a device coming that will take maintenance away from you.
Okay.
It is the Kamoa Reef Master.
This is another automated tester, isn't it?
Correct. And as you can see from the mess of dosing pumps, I know. Although actually, when you look closely, that's only 2 dosing pumps. There's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It looks like there's 15 there, but there's only 2 dosing pumps, and the rest is a series of pinch valves. So they pinch the line, and it draws water from elsewhere. So that's quite a clever solution.
Yeah.
So most of these testers have a different dosing pump for each water sample or each reagent, whatever. This uses valves, which is, I think, it's quite clever, and it might make it smaller. This thing looks reasonably big anyway, but it doesn't look massive, because some of these, the Reef Bite is massive. The Alcatronic, no, not the Alcatronic, the Mastertronic is massive. Yeah. This, I'm sure, will be big, but it doesn't look huge. So I quite like that. But then the trouble is, anything like that that's small, it's fiddly to maintain. So it's a double-edged sword. But anyway,
I was wondering about the cross-contamination if they're all using the same pipes.
They're all using different pipes. Oh, actually, no, maybe not. I don't know. But
they're using pinch valves. They can't all be using different pipes, can they?
Only 2 pumps. But maybe it rinses it with RO in between each test. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, I don't know anything about it, but it's been teased on the Kamoa website, and it does calcium, magnesium, alkalinity, nitrate, and phosphate, which is
that's all of them.
And
pretty much,
nitrite.
Random, but okay.
I'd rather they leave that out. But anyway, that's literally useless. But nitrate. But anyway, the other 5, that is everything you want. So, and I've not seen the KH Manager, which is the other Kamoa version of this that just does alkalinity, but it sounds good. So if they can make this do those 5 parameters well, price depending, and it's no details of price at the moment, it would have to be 1,200 quid maximum, I think. But in fact, sizes, there we go, we've got the sizes here after all. So it's 33 centimeters tall, so just over
like a ruler.
Yeah, it is. 6 centimeters, 12 centimeters wide, and 23 centimeters front to back. It's not that big.
Tiny. That's tiny in comparison to what I thought it was going to be.
That's what the pinch valves do, I suppose. That's quite good. In theory, I like that. I think that looks good, just as long as it's not too expensive.
I've been disappointed by too many testers before, so for me to get excited.
Yeah, this is true.
It's hard enough to even manually test and get the results right, let alone a computer do it for you or a robot.
We'll have to wait to see 6 months. Give it 6 months, and then we'll see what people are getting on, how people are getting on with it. The other piece of equipment news, then we'll move on to other stuff. So sorry, and it's a light, Ryan. But I got an email about this from Giesman, and they brought out a new light called the Giesman Tesla, which is this, and this is roughly equivalent in terms of power output. Are you trying to work out what it looks like?
No, I was trying to work out what because the top bit looks like. It's like, I now worked out there's 3 different ones, but I was like, that really isn't a unique light. And then I realized it's not what I thought it was.
Black lights on a black background. Not very easy. But anyway, I think this does look quite interesting because it's quite big. It's 100 watts, 90 watts, which is roughly the same as a Radeon XR15. I think they're 105 watts or something. But the panel of LEDs is massive, which is great. So lots of spread, lots of coverage. And that, I think, looks, and it says it will illuminate an area of 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot, basically, which is probably slightly optimistic because they always are. But that looks good to me. The funny thing is, Giesman are one of those companies that they're a German company, so it's probably well built. I think that's fair to assume. And Giesman are one of they're the sort of company that I think of as quite a high-end company. Yeah. And a company that will make, I think you could probably blindly buy something from Giesman and expect it to be good quality, but they don't seem that popular. Maybe it's just in continental Europe they're more popular, but they don't seem that popular in the hobby.
They used to be really big on like bulbs and stuff like that, weren't they? Is that correct?
They did T5.
So they are sort of like lighting specialists.
Yeah.
They're just a bit late to the party now, unless they've got other ones.
So I had the Giesman Stella, which was I had 3 of them, in fact, of course, which is the T5 LED hybrid, and it was really good. But this is pure LED. They've done other LED lights before. The spectrum looks quite broad. Anyway. Look, you're going to get bored if I start talking.
Oh, too late. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, people will have noticed that I zoned out a minute ago and sort of like hid a yawn.
For God's sake! But the spectrum looks really good. That, to me, if you're interested in a new light, that looks good. I don't know if it'll be popular, but on paper that looks like they've done a good job. And it was 440 euros, which is 400 quid, which is roughly the same as an XR15. Right. News that is continuing, Ryan. Don't worry, it's not equipment. Reef Bum, Keith Berkelhammer.
Yes.
Did you see his video this week?
Of course not.
Of course you didn't. You don't watch anything. So he made a video this week with the title "I'm Done."
Okay. Sounds a bit clickbaity to me already.
A little bit clickbaity, yeah, but it wasn't clickbait.
As in, that's as he's actually leaving, is he?
He's not leaving the hobby.
Oh, okay.
But he's not selling frags anymore. He's been doing that quite a lot. He always talks about it. Obviously, we're in UK, so we don't look on his website and we can't buy them. But he's been doing it for quite a while, and he's got to the point where, because of things like shipping costs and the expense and the fact that it takes quite a lot of work, he's decided it's not worth it anymore. Shipping's gone up quite a lot, especially in the States, from the sounds of it.
It's gone up here.
You think it's gone up here because it's gone up by £5? It's gone up to, like he was saying, there are sometimes, because America's such a big country, sometimes it costs him $100 to ship a box.
Wow, $100.
I know. But I can't work out what that means, because I know what $100 is in pounds, but like Telegram was on a few weeks ago, and he said he finished his job before he went into pharmaceuticals, and he was earning £60,000 a year, and he described that as an average salary, whereas in the UK, £60,000 is quite a good salary. So I can't ever quite work out. But anyway, I digress. But he's not selling.
I think that they get paid more over there.
That's my impression.
But I also think that if you want to go to a restaurant, you have to pay that like 20% tip on top of the cost of the food. Whatever more you earn, they soon take it back.
Such a
in
British
other ways.
thing. The one thing you focus in on is 20% tip.
No, I'm sorry, but that they have this weird system where if you are happy with your meal, you can tip 25%. If they're unhappy, if you're just average, it's 20%. If you're unhappy, you still tip 15%.
Really?
That might not be quite right. Someone will probably come back and go, no, that's not how it is or whatever. But that was what I was told.
That's
and it
crazy.
is, and they go, oh, the reason is because people earn the waiters earn most of their money from tips. But the food's not any cheaper.
No, that's interesting because the tipping culture is totally different. That's one thing that separates UK and America.
Yeah,
and like they'll tip for everything.
Yeah,
absolutely. Whereas for me, it's like if someone brings me a drink in a pub, you're not getting a tip. It's your job. Like waiters and waitresses, we're accustomed to tipping. Hairdressers, believe it or not, I do visit hairdressers occasionally. That's a tip. Taxis. That's a tip.
I would tip a hairdresser and taxis. Yes.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
and I do tip in restaurants as well.
It's just
no, I actually do. But I just, as I said, I've been to a restaurant and like particularly didn't like the person who served me, which is quite unusual for me. I just thought they were rude, and then I still had to give them more money.
That's funny, isn't it?
And that 5% to pretend, where you go, I tipped 15% rather than 20% because I was unhappy.
Yeah,
it's not worth the hassle for me. I'd rather just give them the extra 5% as well.
Yeah, fair enough. But I think it's probably a different. You probably don't earn that much money as a waitress or waiter.
Yeah,
anyway, I digress. We're not talking about that. So he's no longer selling frags, which is a shame. But it just sounded like it had become too much effort and not worth the extra trouble and actually shipping. So you know a lot better than I do, but when I sell corals, when I post them, it takes quite a lot. It takes me half an hour to bag up one order, and you've got it down to a T. So I'm sure you're quicker, but it's actually quite a lot of effort. So
what do you charge if you're sending coral to them? What do you charge for postage?
15 quid postage and packaging, and that's
but you
slightly
must lose
less
money.
I do. I think postage cost me £9.
Yeah,
and then by the time you've paid for the pot, the heat pack, the box, and all that lot, I think it cost me about £16-17.
Yeah, so I lose money basically on every single box I ship, pretty much.
Okay.
every single one. Because
what do you charge postage? 15 quid.
I think it's 15. It might be 16 if it's 6 frags, but even with 16 for 6 frags, I think the postage for 6 frags is like £11.80 or something. So that's £12 right there already. Then each of the pots are like 40p each.
But it's funny though, because Americans now be like, we're complaining about 12 quid for shipping, and and Keith Berkland has just been saying sometimes it's $100.
Yeah.
But you're right. It is expensive, and we're more price sensitive with that sort of thing over here. Anyway, so. There's lots of chat about comparison with the UK and America, which I'd actually quite like to talk about, but that's for another YouTube channel maybe. The last thing in news, and we're nearly there. The last thing in the news was an algorithm. Now this is, I can't remember where I saw this. I might have been Reef Builders, but I don't think it was. But there's a thing called See-Through, SEA-THRU, and it makes. I'll show you what it is. So this is about marine biology basically, but it has application to our hobby potentially. So this is a photo of an underwater scene. Okay, so that's obviously in a coral reef somewhere, and you can see along the bottom there's a color card. That is what people use in video and photography to edit their photos to make the color look correct later. So that's a color card, and that's a pretty crap photo, no offense. This algorithm makes it look like that.
It takes the blue out.
That's amazing, and that's a boring coral reef, no offense. But that's pretty impressive.
Better than that coral reef.
there was another one that was even better actually. Here we go. And these are all science websites, but look at that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And what it said was this algorithm. So when it compared it to putting something through Photoshop or Lightroom, whatever, and it said it was quite funny because it was kind of rinsing the hobby accidentally, I think. And it said when you put things through Photoshop, you're not trying to make it look realistic. Burn. But when you put it through this, it's trying to make, because this is for scientific journals, so that's the purpose of this, is scientific marine biologists taking photos. So they want to show you what it actually looks like. And I thought that was really interesting because that potentially could work for obviously the sun is different to our LEDs, but if that becomes a thing and they release that, if there was an app, for example, that might make our photos look awesome.
Oh no, everyone will see what the coral actually looks like rather than the edited versions.
Which would be wicked. So, although some people like Prestige Reef have excellent representation in their photos.
Well, I had a good teacher. So
you had a bloody excellent teacher.
Yeah. I need you to put pressure on me to buy something else, because every time you tell me to buy something, I buy it. So I need you to put I need you to put pressure on me to buy the iPhone now. So
I've been talking about that for ages. Anyway, we finished the news. So I need to play the theme tune.
That's all right.
I mean, talking about getting that iPhone, because you film your YouTube videos on your iPhone.
Yes.
It's the first ever. It's an iPhone 1, isn't it?
No, I think it's like an 11, I think, and there's like a 15 now.
Yeah, so you need to update that.
Yeah,
because then your video. Gamp, I tell you what. After this live stream, buy one.
No.
Why? Because
you've
just told me you want it.
Well, firstly, I'm still got like post-traumatic stress from the other day from the other thing you told me to buy.
You were telling me how happy that made you.
I am happy, but I've still got post-traumatic stress from it. The bank actually called me and was like, "Is this actually happening? Because money never leaves
stolen your card. Yeah,
money never leaves your account usually. So is this definitely true?"
Yeah. All right, I'll work on it. Okay. Well, in which case we are now at the headline headline topic, which is expert level fish that are worth the hassle. So the headline says 10. And the idea was that we were going to come up with 5 each. Hang on a second. 144.08. So the idea was originally that we're going to come up with 5 each. I don't have 5. I'm going to tell you straight away, and I think we're going to have some crossover.
I got 6.
You've got 6. Oh, so I've got 4. So,
but we've definitely got some crossover.
And I've cheated because what I did find is I liked this. I've actually had this video in mind to do for a long time,
Yeah.
and I like the idea of it. But when I came down to write the list, I was like, actually, all these fish that are labeled expert level, most of them, they're labeled expert level for a good reason. And on one of my fish list, it's cheating really because I don't think it's expert at all.
Yeah.
But we'll kick off then with you. So what's your first one?
I mean, we covered these a little bit earlier, but copper bands would be my first one. I'm going to say they are definitely worth the extra effort. They are definitely an expert fish, but they are not an easy fish to keep unless you're willing to acclimate them properly, feed them properly. Don't impulse buy the first specimen you see, which is often the worst thing you can do. So I'm going to go with copper band for the first one.
See, these I thought about putting this. I think this is an obvious one to put on the list, but I decided not to because I actually don't think they're worth the effort because it's such a lot of effort, and it's not just like
I disagree. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop you right there. You have a fish which eats Aptasia. It does a job for you. It's like well worth it, as opposed to a mandarin which does sod all, and they're not even that nice. That's right. You heard me say it. I don't like mandarins.
You don't like mandarins?
No. They don't look as brightly colored as the pictures you see of them. The pictures you see of them, they go, oh, wow. But when you actually see them in your tank under blue lights, they're not one of the fish that looks good under blue lights.
Under blue lights, yeah, but just watch it under white lights. Yeah, not 100% of the time. Anyway, we're going to do another video. Why Ryan is wrong about.
I knew you were going to say that.
They're amazing, but so the reason I was going to say that copper bands aren't worth it is because it's not just like you have to put a load of effort in for a month and then it's fine. Yeah. You've got to keep going and going and going and keep
forever.
You've got to alter what you feed. You've got to feed a lot more broadly. They're a pain. I don't think they're worth it, but you think they are because they're Aptasia.
They are definitely, as far as I'm concerned. It depends. Just because you don't think it's worth it doesn't mean that I don't think it's worth it. They do a job properly. So yeah, copper bands would be one of my favorites, and as I said, you are right. They're just not that easy, and I don't encourage people to get them. It's odd because obviously I have a few of them, but I tell people not to buy them. So it's a bit hypocritical.
But I like it so every now and then I watch a video from a freshwater YouTuber who's trying saltwater, and I see this regularly. They regularly say, I looked at what fish to buy. I wanted a copper band because I thought they looked cool, but I did a bit of research on YouTube, and everybody said don't get them. And I love that because it's the hobby
is working.
We're doing the right thing as a hobby. But anyway, but okay. So I can kind of that it did cross my mind to put that on there because they are such a stunning fish, and they eat Aptasia, and I think they're likely to be mostly reef safe. They're not like an absolute terror where they'll eat everything. Yeah. Sometimes you'll get a bad one and you eat real BS. But for the most part, they're one of the more reef safe butterflies. Like you wouldn't put a threadfin butterfly in a reef tank, but you would put a copper band in.
Yeah.
But
there's not many butterflies you can really. You can put pyramids in, and you can put, and some people have long nose as well, don't they? But generally speaking, that's long nose butterflies.
Yeah. I'd like a long nose.
But those are basically the three that people get.
This is very true. Yeah. Pyramids. I've had pyramids. Supposedly they are completely reef safe, but mine were boring. They are boring. Anyway, so we're gonna have to rattle through a little bit. My first one is a leopard wrasse, Macropharyngodon.
I'm gonna have to Google this.
Jeffrey? No, not Jeffrey. I can't remember. But do you know what? The best thing for me to do
is get a picture up.
Show you the one I mean, because there are a few. If you Google leopard wrasse, it will come up with half a dozen different types. And
that's why I was wondering which one you're talking about.
This one, top right hand corner. So I have one of these. What is it? Let me get the proper scientific name as well, because that actually does matter for this. Meleagris, Macropharyngodon meleagris. Jeffrey is the Hawaiian, the potters, I think. Anyway, Macropharyngodon meleagris is the one, and this is the female. They are sexually dimorphic, so male and female look different. And this one looks cooler. I have one of these, and this is one that Macropharyngodon wrasses. All of them are tricky. Yeah. I had this one in particular for a long time in mind as a really difficult one that you just avoid. But what I found, I spoke to Ocean Project, Sean at the Ocean Project. He knows his stuff, and his view on it is that a lot of them come in with damaged mouths, and that's not uncommon for Macropharyngodon wrasses generally. And he reckons that if you get a good specimen that doesn't have a damaged mouth, you're going to be totally fine. And I bought one from him that had was in good condition. He'd had it in for the shop for a little while, and he's been completely fine. He's really easy. I don't feed him anything special. He's really easy. It's a really cool looking wrasse. Wrasses eat pests, so bonus. I wouldn't say, even in my I had a good experience. I wouldn't say, actually don't worry about it. It's an easy one. It's not expert only. I would still be cautious. Yeah. But if you can get a good specimen from a reliable source, not just any old muppet, then they're fantastic fish. And these leopard wrasses to me are absolutely beautiful. I think they're really cool. You're not really a wrasse man, are you?
No.
Is that doing anything for you?
Not really. Not that one. Okay. I like the male leopard peacock wrasse, which are like green.
Right.
So there's a female. That's a female one. The male one of those, I think, is that's the male one. Yeah, I quite like the male ones.
I like the female.
No, I think the reason I like the males is because you hardly ever see the males. They're very rare for you to see. Whereas you see females all the time, but for some reason you just don't see the males. So yeah, but I think the reason I don't like wrasses is because I don't not like them. I don't know enough about them. I don't know which ones will eat your shrimp. I don't know which ones are easy, which ones are hard. So I basically just stay away from all of them and just stick to the ones I know, rather than I just know some of them are a bit more finicky.
Yeah, most wrasses are. I think the wrasses as a group are quite not necessarily the first fish you get, but they're relatively beginner friendly. You shouldn't be too intimidated.
I don't know which ones fight as well. That's the other problem.
Yeah.
So if you get like a Melanaris, is that going to be okay with a possum wrasse, or is that not going to be okay with a possum wrasse? Or a 6-line wrasse will be fine with some things, but not others. So
6-line wrasses are notorious for being bullies. Some aren't, but yeah, but most Halichories wrasses are fine. There's the occasional wrasse like a jade wrasse. It's not a Halichories, but a jade wrasse. They supposedly can eat quite large shrimp. They can be quite nasty. And some wrasses do get quite big. Checkerboard wrasse. You'll see them like an inch long in the shop, and they look really cool. They get massive. They're like almost a foot long. But okay. All right. Well, anyway, we're going to move on to your next one. What's your next one?
I am going to go with a dragon pipefish.
Oh, that's on my list.
No, I was like, there is no way this is going to be on your list. That's why I put it on there.
I see. You said pipefish earlier. I thought you were going to go for a different one.
No, I went for dragon pipefish are the only really sort of like they can live in a reef environment, like an SPS environment.
Dragon pipefish. Flow-wise.
Yes, because with pipefish, flow is the biggest issue. But for whatever reason, it's not a big issue for these pipefish. They're actually slightly poisonous. I didn't know this until I was told by the wholesaler that you can't put them with other fish in a small enclosure.
I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah, from me.
You've told me. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I think they must release some sort of poison somehow.
You don't want to eat it, basically.
Yes, but they're not like venomous where they'll they'll bite you or anything. It's similar to a mandarin, I assume, because they also have a toxin. But the only reason these are a bit finicky is because you need to be able to get them the feeding. They only eat very small things, and you don't want anything that's a bit of a bully, because anything that will bully it, although most things just ignore it, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Have you ever had one?
Yeah, I've got them in the farm. They
cool.
They eat red bugs, so I don't have red bugs, but I got fish at the very beginning specifically just in case. So you get wrasse for flatworms, you get cough bands for aptasia, and I got those for red bugs, just in case. And but yeah, it just swims around and eats microfauna most of the time.
Cool. So I think they're one of the more boring looking pipefish.
They are, yeah.
But they're still cool.
Oh, whenever people see them, they're like, "Wow, this is." I'm like, when they come to the farm, they're like, "Oh, what's this fish?"
Yeah.
So, I would have one in the water box probably eventually, just because I like them.
Okay. Well, the what was I going to say? The yeah, so they were on my list. You mentioned float. So I can never remember what they're called. They're either called orange stripe or blue stripe pipefish.
Yeah.
I had a pair in my water box. The male, sorry, no, one of them got stuck in my AI Nero and almost completely died, and I had to put him in the sun. But I think he's probably dead now. But I've had the other one for a long time. He's been totally fine. I've not done anything special for him. No finicky feeding, no special food or whatever. Just put mysis in, and he's doing well. But every now and then, so actually, sorry, once I turned on I wanted to blast all the gump off the bottom of the tank because it's a bare bottom. So I just turned the AI Neros. I've got 4 AI Nero 5s in, so small, a lot of flow in a small tank. I just turned them all on 100% I put it on for like 30 seconds. And as soon as all the other fish were like, oh God, all right. But the pipefish, and I've said this before, they blow around. It's like a leaf.
Like in a washing machine.
Literally, they're completely helpless, no control whatsoever. So I immediately, I was like, turn off. So it's when people say they can't handle flow, they're not bloody kidding. They really can't. It's like, it was actually upsetting to watch. Like for 2 seconds, but so they really don't like. But in that tank, the flow isn't massive in that tank at all, and they're fine. But they really don't like flow.
The dragon rats are definitely different because you actually see them. They actually like hook their tails around the corals as they move. Cool. So they're definitely far more resilient. I also think they actually come from reefs, whereas I think the blue stripes don't actually come from reefs.
Interesting. They're tiny as well. The dragon is a lot more substantial, so it's probably got a bit more muscle. The little blue stripe or orange stripe, whatever it is, they are tiny. They are not suitable for an SPS tank. But okay, so that's there's a crossover there. My next one was, and I think this is a crossover as well, Regal Angel.
Oh no, I haven't got that on mine.
Oh really? No. So these, I was actually ever so slightly surprised these were considered expert only.
I don't know why.
Because I think it's because of the so is it the silver bellies that?
I don't
know if you ever see them. I couldn't tell you if I've ever seen them in the shop.
They're much cheaper. If you see a really cheap Regal and it's got a silver belly, don't buy it. You only want to buy a yellow belly Regal Angel.
One. Yes. Yeah, so maybe that's it, because some of them are, well, actually no. I think there's probably a few reasons. So they're quite timid.
Yeah.
And I suppose there's probably a danger that they don't get free. What I read about them, and I've only got one experience. I had one, and it was a little bit timid, but not. It wasn't. It was still out and about most of the time.
Yeah.
And it competed for food. It was fine, but I think that the issue is that they're difficult to get feeding, and when they're timid as well, that means there's trouble basically. And if it's really scared, it's stuffed. So maybe that's why. And I don't know, but anyway, and the silver belly thing. Maybe some people they're probably a lot harder. So whatever, they are considered expert only. My experience with them, I got a really healthy specimen that had been in the shop for a while. It looked fantastic, and I had no problems. I didn't do anything special for him.
Yeah.
He didn't. I don't think he ate any of my corals. He was wicked, and he's a cool fish.
He was falsely accused of nipping corals, so you got rid of him.
He was falsely accused of nipping my polyps on my my millies. And I took him out, and they stayed the same. What's your next one?
Boxfish. Boxfish, they are very prone to parasites, is the first thing. They often will not eat, and they also are... they have a thing where they just randomly die for some reason, and no one's really sure. I wonder if that's because of diet, because you can't tell if a boxfish is thin. They always look like they're chunky. There is no like thin boxfish. They all look like that. So I wonder because their skeleton's like on the outside.
Exoskeleton, yeah.
Yes. So I wonder if the ones that die randomly are just not getting the food that they require. But this was my favorite fish I think I've ever owned.
Yeah.
I did try it again, but again, they didn't survive. So maybe I got lucky with this one, with Pablo, which I had for ages. But obviously Pablo was a mechanical error which killed Pablo.
Yeah,
where he got stuck to a power head, even though for years and years he'd been with very powerful power heads. I tested a prototype and it killed him.
Launched him. Gutted.
Yeah. I'm so annoyed.
I've asked you before if you do it again, and I think you said that you might do for this tank, right?
I would be tempted. Tempted to do it again. Yeah.
Okay. They're so cool. They're just awesome. So, but you think they're worth? Okay, well, we're gonna have to move on because we're running out of time. But you think that's worth the risk. My next one is another cheat because I don't think these are expert only at all. I looked it up, I had to double check. Radiant wrasse. It's just a Halichoris wrasse. I wonder if this is because this is from a bygone era when they were difficult to keep 10 years ago. But radiant wrasse, also known as Aridis wrasse.
Yeah.
Aridis wrasse. I think they're easy. I think they are the same as any other Halichoris wrasse. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. Maybe they're still difficult and I've just got lucky. But that for me,
I've never had one, so I don't know.
Piece of cake. And the thing is, well, that's not based just on my experience. I've never seen anyone say these are difficult to keep. And I've talked to
I don't even like those fish. See, you often question my fish, and then I just think you're the biggest hypocrite when it comes to that, because that's not even a nice fish.
So I like that, but it's not the sexiest fish in the world. I'll give you that. It's got like a burgundy body, quite a cool face, and a little bit unusual color, but it is a little bit drab. I'll give you that.
Yeah, not for me. I don't like the shape of wrasses. I think that's why I don't like it.
I love the shape of wrasses. But the reason he made my list was because they're still listed as expert only, and I don't think they are. I don't take my word for that. This is not a statement of fact. I'm not saying they're easy, but in my opinion, I think that's probably dated information. But do other research, find other people to back you up.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
We covered mandarins already earlier, so we'll cross those off. Convict tangs are notorious for starving.
Yeah, I didn't know they were. Difficult.
They're one of those fish where if you get a good one, whatever is classified as a good one, it's fine. It's the same as any normal fish. I've had one, I think, for 7 years. It's completely fine. But if I tried to replace it, you could probably go through 10 of them that all will eat but starve. I was told that they often have worms. Now, I don't know how true that is.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that my convict doesn't look like that. You'll see it tomorrow. You know how that's like really crisp white with black lines? When you look at mine, it's like the white is actually like a grey rather than white.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because they're cool. The convict tang is a fish that places like Worldwide Corals often talk about as one they have in every tank because it's so good at eating algae.
Eating algae, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And we've had to rattle through this a little bit. Is that your last one?
The other two I had with Moorish Idol and Achilles, but Moorish Idol,
that's not worth that.
If you quarantine an Achilles and you have one that's eating, then in theory they're no different to like other acanthurus tangs.
Apart from aggression.
No, because other acanthurus tangs are bastards too. So.
Okay, fair enough.
I got through almost the whole live stream without swearing.
And what was the other one? The
was a Moorish Idol.
Moorish Idol.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them are.
I'm not sure that's worth the hassle. The Achilles, maybe. I could say Achilles, maybe.
But that's it. When I look through the list of expert only fish, almost all of them were like, yeah, that is labeled expert only for a reason. And expert only doesn't mean that you're an expert. It just means they're difficult. Anyway.
It should be changed to challenging fish rather than expert only.
Yeah,
because experts don't have any more expertise with regards to some of these specific requirements that these fish need than the average reefer.
I am not an expert, and yet I have some of these fish, and I have had success with them. But that doesn't make me. I'm not a marine biologist,
Yes, true.
But there we go. We've hit 2 hours a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap it up?
No, but people are asking if we're going to be here on Christmas Eve.
Oh, yes. No, we're not.
There you go. and probably not on New Year's Eve. Is that correct?
I would be up for New Year's Eve because I don't like New Year's Eve. But maybe. I think Christmas Eve we'll give it a break.
Can we have a drunk? Not drunk, just
that's not
we have to have, the rules are we have to have 2 glasses before we start. So we can celebrate, and we'll do it. The live stream starts at 10 o'clock until midnight.
Yeah, okay.
I'm joking. I'm not doing that.
but Christmas Eve, I think it's probably better not to.
Yeah, because you're waiting for Santa to turn up, aren't you?
I am. I'll be excited. New Year's Eve, possibly, but we'll see. If I might see you guys next year. So have a great Christmas and New Year, guys, if that is then. And thanks for joining as ever. And see you soon.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.